Hey everyone, welcome back to the NES Archive, where we're going to take a look at the North American NES library, one game at a time. Today's game was originally launched alongside the Nintendo Entertainment System on October 18th, 1985. The game is Hogan's Alley. Hogan's Alley was part of the Light Gun series. The tagline was, "Are you tough enough to join the FBI?" That tagline actually surprised me. I had no idea that this game had anything to do with the FBI. I just thought it was a game where you shot gangsters, but there's actually a reason for it. And again, I didn't know why it was called Hogan's Alley. I'll talk about that at the end as well. Let's take a look at the back of the box. As always, Nintendo had a blurb on the back of the box describing what the game was like. This one read, "You need split-second timing and sharp shooting accuracy to join the FBI. Have you got what it takes? Prove it. Use your Zapper light gun, TM, to shoot the gangsters in the FBI lineup without hitting the innocent bystanders. Hit the gangsters and you'll score enough points to move to the next location, Hogan's Alley. Here's where the going gets rough. The gangsters pop in and out of windows, doorways, and shadows. They're visible for shorter amounts of time. Beat the gangsters this time around and you'll move on to the trick shot round. How long can you keep the tin cans hopping up in the air? Keep them up there long enough and you'll score enough points to become a full-fledged agent in this exciting Nintendo light gun game." The developer of Hogan's Alley was Nintendo R&D 1, as is most games that were launch games with the NES. The design team worked on games like Super Mario Land, Tetris, Fire Emblem, Metroid, and Earthbound. The producer of the game was Gunpei Yokoi. He invented the Game Boy. The director of the game was Satoru Okada. The main programmer was Toshio Sengoku. And of course, the audio and sound was made by Hirokazu Tanaka, who most people call Chip Tanaka. Leave it to Nintendo to find a way to make a game about practicing shooting people non-violent. Like, really, it's genius the way that they did this. They have the characters on these cardboard cutouts, which, you know, they turn sideways, you can't see them, and then they turn to show who it is. And yes, the characters look like people, but because of the way that it's presented, the game is clearly telling you these are not people, they're just paper. Hogan's Alley consists of 3 different modes. Game A is a normal shooting range, the kind we've all seen in a million cop movies. The posters with the people come in from the side. They're all turned sideways, so you can't tell who they are. And then at once they all turn and face you, and you have to make a decision. Which one is a gangster? Which one is a policeman? Which one is a lady? And which one is a professor? You know, Nintendo, can't the woman have a job as well? Why does she have to be just lady? Everybody else has a job. I mean, even the gangsters have a job. They're gangsters. Your job is to shoot the gangsters and not shoot the bystanders. It's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of a learning curve with the game, and it's really fun. And as you progress, they'll start to put maybe 2 gangsters on the screen instead of just 1. So you always have to be ready for any of the targets to be gangsters. If you shoot one of the bystanders, that counts as a miss. And if you get shot by one of the gangsters because you didn't hit them in time, that counts as a miss. They don't actually call it getting shot. It just counts as you didn't hit it. And if you get 10 misses, then it's game over. Game B is pretty much the same, except instead of having the posters in the line, they pop out from various parts of the screen, which represent a street, maybe windows or doorways, or they'll go between buildings. The game rotates through the street from a few different views. There's a building with 4 windows in it, and then there's a gun shop. And as you're moving across the screen, you're slowly seeing the different parts of this street. This is Hogan's Alley. This is the actual street that the game is named after. In this mode, you also have to start worrying about hitting gangsters while they're moving, which adds a little more difficulty to the game. Speaking of difficulty, Game C is definitely the most difficult and skill-based mode of play. In Game C, you have to shoot cans and get them into targets on the left side of the screen. So the cans come in on the right side of the screen, and they start to fall down, and you have to shoot them to get them to go back up into the air. While they're going up in the air, you have to start juggling other cans that are also coming in from the right, and you've got 3 spots on the left side of the screen to get them to land. If they fall below the bottom of the screen, it counts as a miss. And of course, the spot where you get the most points is the spot on the bottom of the screen. So I think it was 300 on the top, 800 in the middle, and it was 5,000 on the bottom. This was definitely the most difficult mode. It wasn't what I didn't think it was the most fun mode, but I thought it was really fun. For me, I think that game mode B was the most fun. This mode actually had a cameo in Smash 4 for the Wii U and 3DS with the inclusion of the Duck Hunt character. You had an ability to shoot cans across the screen as Duck Hunt. If they came into contact with your opponent, they would explode. And on top of that, Duck Hunt's final smash also ended with a shootout between the enemies from Hogan's Alley and the enemies from Wild Gunman, which I always thought was fantastic. And it might be why Duck Hunt Dog is one of my favorite characters in Smash 4. I had trouble finding any reviews of the game from back in the 80s that were in English. The only one that I did find was Tilt Magazine. They gave the game a good review, but it reads in French, so I'm going to have to paraphrase it. Another cartridge that comes with the gun, Hogan's Alley puts you in the pocket of a zealous policeman whose job it is to eliminate the bandits present in the city. Of course, saving the innocent is more than recommended. It's also in the interest of the game. The speed of identification is very important. The game plays fast as hell, and like Wild Gunman, this game is fairly static. There's only 3 screens. On the other hand, the action is more progressive, and you experience a real satisfaction when one makes a good shot on the enemy characters. Everything is enhanced by a fast animation, and the sound is fantastic. I would definitely have to agree that the sound is very good in the game. It's not a big surprise since Hirokazu Tanaka worked on it. That guy's really famous for his sound design. Hogan's Alley was definitely one of my favorite games growing up, and I really think it still holds up today. Unfortunately, you can't play it on modern TVs as the light guns don't work because of the TV timing. If you're curious as to how that works, I suggest you check out my Duck Hunt video, which I'll make sure and leave a link down below for you to check out. It goes into the actual way that the light gun games on the NES worked. All right, this is something that I really did not expect to find out. When I was doing research for the video, I found out that the game's name, Hogan's Alley, actually comes from a real place. It's a training facility for the FBI, which is a cluster of several complete but, not used buildings and streets that are there to train federal agents in urban scenarios, sometimes, shooting firearms at cutout targets, just like you do in the game. You can even see part of the actual Hogan's Alley in the movie Silence of the Lambs. So here's what I want to know. I want to know which game you liked better. For me, I liked Hogan's Alley more than I liked Duck Hunt. I owned Duck Hunt. I did not own Hogan's Alley. And Hogan's Alley, like if I wanted to play with that, I would always have to go over to a friend's house, and I would play that game over at their house all the time. But Hogan's Alley was always my favorite, and I would always ask my friend, hey, you want to trade Duck Hunt for Hogan's Alley? And they would always say no, which it just drove me bananas. But I want to know, which game do you guys prefer, Duck Hunt or Hogan's Alley? Please make sure to let me know. All right, that's it for this episode of NES Archive. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.